In 2008, a 27-year-old man sat in a parking lot outside a McDonald's, not to eat. He couldn't afford a burger. He sat there to steal the Wi-Fi so he could apply for jobs. His name was Chris Gardner. His bank account had $21 in it. He had a 1-year-old son sleeping in the back seat of that car, and in less than 10 years, he would build a multi-million-dollar brokerage firm from absolute zero. This is not a fairy tale. This is a real financial story. And I want you to watch every second of it, because somewhere in this story is the exact thing you've been missing. Chris didn't come from poverty by accident. He was raised by a mother who went in and out of prison. His stepfather was abusive. He never had a father figure, never had a financial role model, never had someone to tell him this is how money works. He joined the Navy at 18 just to escape. When he came out, he got a job as a medical equipment salesman, barely making $8,000 a year. He fell in love, had a child, and was sharing a one-room apartment with 3 other adults. But then, one afternoon, everything changed. He saw a man in a Ferrari parked outside a hospital, and he asked him, "What do you do, and how do you do it?" The man said 2 words, "Stockbroker." Chris had never heard of it. He had no degree in finance. He had no connections on Wall Street. He had no money to invest. But something clicked inside him that day that couldn't be switched off. He applied for an unpaid internship at Dean Witter Reynolds, one of the top brokerage firms in San Francisco. He had to compete against hundreds of candidates with college degrees, suits, and family money. Chris showed up in paint-stained jeans because he had been arrested the night before for unpaid parking tickets and walked straight from the police station to the interview. But here's the part nobody tells you. The internship paid nothing. $0 for 6 months. He still had a son to feed. His partner left him. He was evicted from his apartment. For months, Chris Gardner and his toddler son slept in shelters. Sometimes they were turned away and had to sleep in bathroom stalls of subway stations, covering Christopher Jr. with his own jacket. And every morning, he would wake up, drop his son at daycare, and walk into one of the most prestigious financial offices in America, with a smile on his face. Because no one could know. Not his manager. Not his colleagues. Not anyone. There were nights he thought about quitting. There were moments staring at the ceiling of a shelter, listening to other men snore, with his son curled beside him, where he asked himself, "Is this worth it? Is anything worth this?" He could have left, gone back to selling medical equipment, found a stable routine. But here's what he said in his own words. "It was not going to be a homeless shelter that defined me. I was going to define myself." 6 months into the internship, 20 candidates were competing for just one, full-time paid position at Dean Witter. Chris was not the most educated. He was not the most polished. He didn't know the fancy terminology. But he was the most hungry. He made more cold calls per hour than anyone else in that office. He learned every client's name, every client's goal, every financial fear they had. He treated every single call like it was his last chance to survive, because it was. The results came in. The position was announced. Chris Gardner got the job. From there, he never looked back. He became a top-performing broker. Then he left to start his own brokerage firm, Gardner Rich & Co., based in Chicago. He built it from a $10,000 investment to a firm managing millions. He became a multi-millionaire. He traveled the world as a motivational speaker. His life story was turned into a book, and then a film starring Will Smith called The Pursuit of Happiness. The same man who couldn't afford a hamburger was now being played by one of the highest-paid actors in Hollywood. Now here's what I want you to take away, because this isn't just an inspirational story. This is a finance lesson. Chris Gardner had no money. He had no degree. He had no safety net. But what he had was a skill he committed to mastering, a market he believed in, and the discipline to show up every single day, no matter what was waiting for him at night. And that is exactly what separates people who build wealth from people who only dream about it. Most people wait until they have perfect conditions to start investing, to start a business, to build something. But conditions will never be perfect. The man sleeping in a subway bathroom went on to manage millions of dollars, not despite his hardship, but because of what that hardship forced him to become. If you're going through a rough financial patch right now, whether it's debt, unemployment, or just feeling stuck, I want you to remember one thing. Chris Gardner's story didn't start in success. It started in a parking lot at McDonald's stealing Wi-Fi. So wherever you're starting from, start. If this story hit you, drop a comment below. I'm starting. That's all. Just 2 words. I read every single one. And if you want more real stories about people who built wealth from nothing, subscribe right now. Because next week, I'm covering a story that makes Chris Gardner's look easy. You don't want to miss it.